Do you believe in love after love? We are here. Welcome to the Coaches Huddle. It's your boy, the Coach, here with my man with the plan, Grant Cohn. And this is the Coaches Meeting. And I am hosting this week's installment of the show. How are you doing, Grant? How's it going, buddy?
Fantabulous. I'm doing so splendiferous. It's great to be here. There's so much to talk about. There's breaking news. There's gossip. There's all kind of juicy tidbits to get into. And I love that. You know what I'm saying?
Tidbits, bits of tids, tig old bitties. Let's get into it. So look, right now, there's a report that has been going around that an anonymous coach from this year's coaching staff or former, we don't know, it hasn't been confirmed, has illuminated on some of the backdoor events that have been happening with the 49ers. Basically, since week 3, a quote has been put out that the coaching
I can read it
staff-
real quick. I got the article in front of me.
Sure.
This is from Mike Silver in The Athletic. It came out yesterday. Title is "Niners are clinging to hope while enduring a quote unquote season from hell." And the quote comes from an anonymous assistant coach. This is what Silver writes. 12 games into what one 49ers assistant coach described as a quote-unquote season from hell, the defending NFC champions aren't doing much dancing, yada, yada, yada. Then, one more quote from this coach. This is Silver writing again. The Niners' mojo disappeared in September when they followed up a seemingly impressive season-opening victory over the Jets with back-to-back road defeats to the Vikings and the Rams. Since then, said the assistant coach, quote, day by day, it's been falling apart.
I mean, definitely what it speaks to is just all of the things that we've seen with the 49ers throughout their offseason, the tumultuous contract negotiations that they've had, and what seems to be just a gut punch, to be honest with you, is that you can compartmentalize from what we've seen thus far, right? We're in week 13 of the season, week 14 of the season, and we can look at the offseason, and then we can also look at what happened or what transpired during the training camp, where we saw during training camp that energy was low. There wasn't a consistency of effort. It seemed as though that there were moments during practice where there were multiple lulls in practice, where it seemed as though that they were just going through the motions. One thing that we can talk to now, if you really have a crystal ball, we all should have seen it then, but we know why they struggled in special teams this year, because they barely practiced it during camp, like if at all. It was all but an afterthought period. It was just something that they were just moving on to, trying to kind of checking a box. My biggest issue right now is understanding the injuries is something that I don't think that anybody can see coming. I mean, you expect them coming, but I think that this team kind of got away from the usual because they had such a healthy season last year. Being hurt with losing Brendan Ayuk immediately, having Javon Hargraves falling out of the lineup, not even getting your Churgos Matu started up until the season got going. You could definitely see how things could have been rough, but I don't think anybody would have thought that quotes like a season from hell or things would have been falling apart by week 3. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I think this is a potentially explosive article from Silver, because if the assistant coach is on the team now, then that suggests that there's someone talking to the media off the record about how bad it's going, which is a bad sign. That's usually the indication of like a team that's kind of falling apart, and someone has decided that like the people need to know about how bad it really is. Or Michael is quoting someone who's not currently an assistant coach on the team and being messy. But Michael's been doing this for 30 plus years, and he wrote let me again how he put it. 12 games into what one 49ers assistant coach described, that would imply the guy's on the team now. I mean, it seems like it would be a real stretch to talk to someone who used to be on the team and call him a 49ers assistant coach. Doesn't that imply he's on the team? I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for them to be for the reports to be anecdotal by week, it would almost imply that they're talking about somebody who was definitely on the team.
He was there on Wednesday, so it's implying that he somehow was in the in the facility and talked to someone who's currently employed with the 49ers who really wanted to be like, yo, it's terrible here right now. I mean, that's bad. That's the kind of stuff that hasn't happened with the 49ers in Kyle's tenure.
I'll tell you one thing right now. You know who probably is the leak if it's somebody outside of the coaching staff?
Who?
Coach Wilkes. It's got to be Wilkes. It's definitely got to be Wilkes. I mean, if you think about it, Grant, is it really that far-fetched for it to be that bad this quickly? I mean, right now we would have to look at just the performance of how the team has been moving forward. One would say that Kyle just hasn't had feel. He's not necessarily calling games well. The team doesn't seem prepared. There seems to be effort issues late in games. Right now, the only thing that's amazing to me is how much it seems to be how much grace Kyle is giving Coach Sorensen. That's probably the only silver line out of all of this. What would you have to say about that? Like, as far as like Kyle, he seems to be not really covering for Coach Sorensen.
Well, yeah, he's not. I mean, he's going to fire Coach Sorensen. That guy's going to be gone. And I think when you listen to him talk yesterday, you could sort of hear him trying to sort of advocate for himself. I think it's probably too little too late. I like him. He seems like a nice guy, but he's not going to keep his job. But what I wanted to say is like to Silver's point, or to this assistant coach's point about how it's been falling apart since like the whole season. Like, let's go back to week 1. 90 minutes before kickoff, you get the news about Christian. Like, not only is he not going to play, but he's going to be going on IR. And it's such a gut punch. Like, oh, like you thought everything was going to be okay. You got Ayuk on the field. You got Trent Williams on the field. No Christian. And the Jets are supposed to be good. And the Niners smoke the Jets. And Jordan Mason steps up. And it's this great story. And after the game, Jordan Mason gets his moment. He's smiling. It's like it's so typical Niners. You know what I mean? Like some adversity hits and some guy you don't know steps up and he's great. And then he says that he found out since Friday. And then he's like practically he's not in tears, but he was so upset.
He's very upset.
This great night was marred. And I feel like that's been the season. You know what I mean? They can't sustain anything positive. And as soon as something good happens, they taint it somehow with their own messiness. Like, the Cowboys game was similar. You smoke the Cowboys, and then after the game, it becomes like a political movement. It's like, you know what I mean? One after another.
Yeah. Like, the one thing that hurt them the most, in my opinion, is that it just seems as though that every time they got any type of positive momentum or one step forward, there was something that always took them about not even 2, but 10 steps back.
Yeah.
The injury,
because after that week 1 win, it wasn't like, look at the Niners, they won with Jordan Mason. It was like, God, they didn't tell about Christian McCaffrey, and Jordan Mason couldn't enjoy. It was all bad.
Yeah. But even then, I mean, I felt as though that there were moments in the season early on where, you know, you did see spurts where I was pleased at the fact that even though, after the New York game, you know, the whole Christian gate, that happened. But I was pleased at the fact that I felt at that time that Kyle was going to adjust. And you remember in that game, the game plan was not Jordan Mason. The game plan was try to get the ball out, get Deebo Samuel involved, and really try to get with short intermediate passes. It wasn't until the Jets all but shut that down until they had to lean into Jordan Mason, and he kind of took the game over. Like, I felt like, oh, okay. I was fooled, honestly. Oh my God, Kyle is adjusting. Like, nobody would have leaned. I don't ever see him leaning on Jordan Mason like that. I mean, and then earlier in the season, Brandon Ayuk was bad early. We just got to face it. He was bad. But what killed is that he got hurt probably with some of the best 2 quarters that he had all season. Right? Like, he was cooking before he got hurt. And, you know, there's a lot of moments in that season where if you think that the Niners were definitely going to take off, or it showed you glimpses where you thought that they were going to kind of show shades of old. It kind of fell flat. And I think that's another thing that really hurt about this one, is that it's not like we saw shades of what this team truly was this season early on, but I felt like we were fighting not only against what the team was letting us know, where they were practically in denial, but the national media. I felt like a lot of people were waiting for the Niners to kind of show themselves. But as one would have it, things kind of just turned out to be, we are who we are.
And to me, what happened is like they were having all these missteps like along the way where it was like something's wrong with this team. You're like, you have too many distractions. You guys aren't tied in together the way it used to be. And then it like culminated with they beat the Cowboys. Osa does his thing, which is very controversial and again puts the Niners in the spotlight among people who don't even follow football. They have a bye week. They play the Bucks on the road. They're winning. This is the only winning streak of the season for the 49ers. And in the fourth quarter, Debo hits the long snapper and on TV. And the Niners haven't been anything since that moment. I mean, they hang on and win that game, and since then they've lost everything. And I think that's kind of it. All culminated in them melting down and turning on each other, which they'd kind of been, we kind of seen it coming. They finally do it. And since then, they're not a team anymore. It's just interesting. Like, yeah, they could pull it out and win this week and win next week, but are they still a team? How together are they? They say they are, but let's see it.
Yeah, I really do want to see it. I'd like to see them kind of pull themselves up. And I hate to say this, but right now, in order for them to almost kind of keep the culture of the locker room, moral victories are at like an all-time high. That's what's really at stake for the last 5 weeks of this season is, it's not been losses, bro. We be getting blown out. These are blowouts. These are like not putting your best foot forward, giving up, walking away from the challenge type deal. Like at this stage of the game, it's not even about like being a team. This is teetering on the side of, are you doing your job? So,
yeah, and they better not do that this week at home. It's one thing to do that in Green Bay when it's cold and in Buffalo when it's cold and you're underdogs, but like they're 4-point favorites this week. We're going to talk about that when we get in our Bet US segment, sponsored by Bet US.
Definitely. And 100%, let's just get into our Bet US segment sponsored by Bet US.
Right, the Niners somehow are 4-point favorites. The over-under is 44, so I guess they're expecting the Niners to win 24-20 over the Bears. I mean, that's a pretty generous expectation for the Niners defense in particular. And it does. I mean, maybe Nick Bosa plays, but my best guess is he won't, considering he didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday and hasn't. Well, he was in the locker room yesterday. I saw him in the locker room. But so that's something.
I don't think he's gonna play.
I don't think so.
Another thing is I don't think Trent's gonna play either.
No,
he's pretty.
I haven't seen him in a while. Of course, I mean for understandable reasons.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but without Bosa and Trent, the Niners have the Niners are. It's hard to overstate how bad they are in the trenches.
Yeah,
they could have the worst trenches in the league without those two guys.
Well, there is a glimmer of hope. I believe that. We got to see it in other weather. In bad weather, the trenches favor the offensive line because defensive line can't get push. They can't get leverage. So obviously, offensive line is going to do much better in run blocking in bad weather. So, but from what I've seen thus far, Jalen Moore didn't have like a horrible game against the Packers or the Bears.
That's true.
And Ben Barch, in my opinion, played much better at that position than what we've seen out of Aaron Banks. But we got to see it at home in real circumstances. The
one thing that's kind of weird about this team, though, is compared to other bad Niners team, like in 2020 when they were bad, they still had Eric Armstead in his prime. They still were like tough on the D line. Now, I mean, they got nothing at D tackle. Nothing.
No, and that's one thing about it is that I believe that Eric Armstead is sorely missed, man. Like that stout protector on the inside, and I mean, dare I say, like in the locker room too. There's just a lot of things that I feel like we kind of took for granted because it worked so well at the moment.
Is it fair to say that this season started falling apart when they cut Eric Armstead? Because after Eric Armstead got cut, every player started going for their money. They're like, "What happened?"
Yeah.
The longest tenured player, Walter Payton, Man of the Year candidate, got cut. I need some stability right now.
And Grant, not just cut, but by Eric
Embarrassed.
Armstead's, he said it was 4. They offered him 4 to 6.
Something like that. Yeah, 7.
They owed him like
yeah.
$6 million off of the 14. Like we were thinking that they would have taken like maybe 6 at the most off the 14. But
I wonder if that was the thing that sort of like got this season off on the wrong foot, because after that, I mean, it was Christian, Trent,
every man for himself.
Every man for himself. Whereas like we used to joke about the Cabo clique and how, you know, it was toxic, but like at least they were literally vacationing together and they seemed to like each other.
Right.
Now it seems like they broke up and they're all out they're all making solo albums right now that aren't very good.
Definitely. It definitely seems like they all broke up. In my opinion, the Eric Armstead deal, I will be honest, longest tenured guy, and not even the longest tenured guy, but Eric Armstead is a huge leader in the locker room too.
Yeah.
Like the man's man of the locker room.
And he kind of balanced the Nick Bosa side of the
fakeness of it all, honestly.
If you know what I mean.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. 100%.
Like I don't think Bosa would have done the thing with the hat if Armstead were on the team.
Oh no, I think that Bosa actually referenced it. He said it's a lot better climate around here. It's a better environment.
Yeah.
Where I feel comfortable to do that, which means that there was always something where, you know, if you see what Eric Armstead stands for off the field, I could definitely tell that would have been something that would have been a problem.
Nah, see, he's not great. He's not even that good anymore. So I'm not saying they did the wrong thing, but I think like if you create this culture of the team of like, hey, we're a family, we vacation together, we're friends with the coach. Like you kind of killed the facade when you did that to Armstead. It's like, no, you're not. You're a freaking business, and you're going to make some very tough business decisions. And guess what, Debo? You're next. No, Juszczyk too. Like Juszczyk didn't have to go, but he had to take a humiliating pay cut. And now, you know what I mean?
And he cried about it.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, and he's still the highest paid fullback in the league.
Right.
And he's still overpaid.
But again, like they thought they was just like, this was going to be Cabo forever. Like, nah, Cabo's over.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, check out BetUS and receive 150% bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. That was the key thing I needed to mention. I'm going to put my hard-earned bucks down on the Bears. Like, are you kidding me? Hold on. Let me log in first. This is very important. There's my, there it is. I'm in. I don't want to verify that I'm a human. Okay, boom. They verified it. Wait a second. This is important. If I don't make this wager in front of everyone, does it really count? No. Absolutely not. Okay, boom. Oh, it changed. Did you see that?
Yeah.
It changed.
It went from
as we were talking about it, they were like, they're making really good points. But I still got to take the Bears. I could have had 4 points a minute ago, but now I got 3.5. That's terrible. See, you snooze, you lose. I'm placing the bet. I just can't imagine the Niners are going to beat anyone anymore after they got assistant coaches saying that it's been falling apart since week 3. That's not what you want to hear. Okay, that's enough. No. Do you know that there's 39 super chats already?
Whatever happened to Niners Don't League?
I don't know. Again, maybe this guy was an assistant coach. It just seems like that's not what Silver said. I don't know.
So you want to do some super chats? There's only
I don't. It's up to you, but there's 39 of them. I don't know how that happened. It started at 9:17 in the morning.
They're yours. They're not mine. They're not here. That
would explain. They're mine?
Mm-hmm.
So I can't even get to them.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just read them then super fast.
Yeah, read them.
Ivan Tina says, as long as Moody plays, we have a chance. A125 says, what game this year has told us Purdy is the guy? Not one game this year. Brother Bob says, $2 for my guy coach who will read this late. Brother Bob. Dale says, better question. Remember when Grant thought it was going to be Brock or Kyle's team going forward? You think the poop play calling is on purpose to devalue Brock?
No.
I wouldn't give Kyle that much credit.
I wouldn't give him that much credit, yeah.
Juan Jimenez, like he's sandbagging. No, he's just not good this year. Juan Jimenez says, hurt GNX because of you. It's straight Kyle. I mean, straight buns. Brother Bob says, Grant, I will debate you next about Kyle Levy. I will even argue that he's a genius in Hall of Fame caliber. Okay, that's a lie, but this Rob won't get in his feels. Juan Jimenez says, not going to apologize. That album was buns, so was Tank. Dale says, feel like we are not maximizing Brock's play with all the dropbacks, purposely changing the run first play calling. The whole O scheme has changed.
And definitely, Shreddy Murphy says every issue with this team Kyle can avoid by not being here. Fastest way out is getting fired, which explains what we're seeing.
Oh, we can come back to some of these super chats in a minute. You want to do another topic since we're like
Definitely,
20 minutes
bro.
in? Let's do that.
Yeah, 100%.
Dennis
So,
McCray, I'll start with you when we get back.
all right. So, Shanahan's future: rebuild or move on. At 5-7, is Kyle Shanahan ready for the potential lean years with the 49ers, or could he explore other opportunities to avoid a rebuild and preserve his career trajectory? We've talked about this. Right now, traditionally, most coaches, you do bad, you don't win, you get fired. It's pretty simple. But it seems as though that Kyle's career has taken a lot of twists and turns. Some really like polarizing seasons that have been on the other side of the spectrum. Either we're really bad or we're phenomenally good, right? And along the lines of that, we've looked at Kyle coming off of a Super Bowl appearance, but we're looking at the future of this team, which just seems as though that we're really going to be coming up on some hard decisions moving forward. And one would ask, traditionally, most coaches would get fired to move on, or they would have to stick with their mess and actually fight through the contracts and the age and the top-heavy guys that they have and be forced to develop. Quite frankly, we don't think Kyle's going to do that. What do you think Kyle's biggest opportunities are for him to take moving forward? Do you believe that Kyle's going to sit here with the team and walk into all of these contracts and pay Deebo Samuel and sit here with the Brandon Ayuk coming off of an ACL and PCL injury? Or is he going to start exercising some things like maybe taking a break, possibly resigning and looking elsewhere?
Well, I mean, I think fans don't quite understand how bad of a situation the Niners are in financially. Like, okay. I mean, next year, they have so many players who are under really expensive contracts who can't produce up to that level. Like Deebo, Hargrave. Like right off the bat, they have to cut Hargrave. Let's start there. Hargrave can't be on the team next year. Full stop. Like his cap number would be $28 million. Can't happen. He's got to go. And you can't make it like a post June 1 trade. I think like that's the cut. That's what the Niners did with Armstead last year because they felt that this year they were going to go to the Super Bowl. So it's an all-in year. Don't take the dead cap hit. Spread it out. So they may miss the playoffs this year. They're going to have a $20 million dead cap hit for Armstead next year. Like they got to get past that. They have to like expedite this process. They don't want this to happen. They don't want this to like drag out for 2, 3, 4 years. So they have to figure out which guys they can cut next year and just take the hit. The problem with cutting Hargrave is that it only frees up $3 million in cap space. Mm-hmm. So you're basically paying for him not to be on your team anymore. And that's because he's under contract for like 3 more years. It's like, you got to go. You got to start over. And they got to draft defensive tackles.
We got to do that, though.
They got to do it. And so, like, the other one you'd like the Niners to do, I think everyone wants the Niners to cut Deebo. But the problem with Deebo is that they restructured his deal last year. He only has 1 year left on his contract. And if the Niners were to cut him, they would actually take on a $31 million dead cap hit, as opposed to having him on the team. It would cost him 15.9. So, like, I don't even see how they can get rid of Deebo next year, which to me is a huge problem because, like, he represents kind of like everything that's wrong with this team.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, the dead cap
paid for what you did in the past, kind of like delusional about where you are right now. He just said on Wednesday that the Niners are better than their record. Like, no, they're not. And you're not better than your numbers. Like, you are.
And your numbers are bad.
Like, you are like the physical, like you are a microcosm of the 2024 49ers. Deebo.
Yeah. Also, they got to move on from Juice. It's time to move on from Juice. The only thing that right now, and the only thing that really straps us to Trent and Christian is that they're in guaranteed money now because we rolled back the clock with them, so we can't move them. But
if they try to cut Trent Williams next year, it would cost the Niners $55 million in dead cap money.
It's fucking horrible.
But it's like, I mean, they have to think about doing stuff like that. Like, they have to think about doing that with Trent, because if you don't take the hit now, then you're just going to have an offensive tackle who's playing 8 games a year, making $30 million a year. Like, if you feel that these guys aren't viable long term anymore, you gotta like rip the Band-Aid off. Like Christian McCaffrey, if you think he can't live up to $20 million a year, then take the hit now.
Yeah.
Take the hit now.
Honestly, another
and that's the
hit
thing.
that
Like
you
Kyle
made.
may know that, and if that's what next year's going to be about, then they're going to keep losing, and he may not want any part of that.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is Kyle going to have the sand to cut some of his friends, basically.
Yep.
Kyle's going to have the sand to look some of these guys in the eye and tell them, hey, man, it's
We're
time
starting
for
over.
us to put the team first. And start over.
And people that are sticking around here, we're not necessarily going to be in the Super Bowl this year.
Not only that, though, I'll put it out there. If we're talking about hard decisions, right? Nothing personal, but just hard decisions. There's a world where we give Brandon Ayuk 1 year to see what he can do, and then we're having a hard conversation with him as well. Hey man, we understand what that deal was, and we understand what those circumstances were then. But right now, as you can see, we're kind of taking a turn on rebuilding the team, and we want you to be here, but not at this price. So there's a real world where that can be realistic. If you're looking at what Kyle could do, do you think there's a world where Kyle just looks at this and says, you know what, I don't even want to touch this. I'm going to go ahead and resign. I'll sit back, resign, take a year or two off, then kind of ingratiate myself back into a coaching staff, maybe as a coordinator, maybe as an offensive head coach. But right now, I don't want to put up with this. Do you think Kyle really will sit here and struggle with this team? Will he own this?
I don't know. Like, it'd be interesting to see if like the Yorks talk to Kyle and be like, all right, well, moving forward, we're really displeased with these contracts. Like the last offseason was just terrible. The players you signed were all bad. The players you extended, those extensions were all bad, except for like the Juwan Jennings and Colton McKivitz ones. Those two were good. The others were awful. It's like we're going to bring in a general manager, and you're no longer going to have control over those things. Like you're going to have to. We want you to just focus on being a coach. No more personnel control for you.
Does that also mean that John Lynch gets fired?
Possible, or it's like, or he becomes the
president, or he just takes over his president role.
You can talk, you can stay here, and Kyle, you can coach. John, you could be a president, or you're fired, and we're gonna bring in a new general manager, and he's gonna have the final say, and you're gonna report to him. That might be the best thing for this organization to do. You could argue that that's the best thing for Kyle and the best thing for the 49ers, to stick with Kyle one more year, fire John, bring in a strong general manager. But I don't see Kyle going for that. And if that's the Yorks' ultimatum, I could see Kyle being like, hey, in that case, I resign. I resign.
Man.
But I don't know. Those are a couple hypothetical leaps.
Yeah. The biggest thing that I can see right now is just the money right now, and also the drafts. We can't have horrible first days. It was awesome to be able to talk about what we get later in the draft. Some of our best players that we have right now are because of those late draft finds. But if you just look at the record, man, we have really shit the bed when it comes to first and second round draft picks, first day picks, man. There's a way right now where the only way right now where we could really inject that type of change, development in our team is that we got to start having like some knockout home run drafts. Like the draft really matters for us now because, quite frankly, we can't even shop anymore. We don't even have the money.
Yeah, and how can a team that's so good at drafting in round 5 be so bad at drafting in round 1? It feels like we're not there. We don't know, but it feels like they have a really good scouting department, a really good scouting department. But in those early draft picks, then you probably have more meddling from people who aren't in the scouting department, and it's an organizational decision, and you have coaches and stuff involved in who they pick. And consistently, it's from Solomon Thomas to Mike McGlinchey to freaking Javon Kinlaw and Jair Brown. It seems like they get it wrong, and then once I don't know, the front office is allowed to do its job, they lock in and do a great job from like rounds 3 through 7. It's a weird pattern, and Jed must know the answer. Like, why are you consistently getting the first pick wrong?
Yeah, I think this kind of the underlying mantra of this year's offseason is going to be kind of stepping back, like not even like relinquishing responsibility, but sharing more responsibility. I do believe that the organization is going to have a lot more of a hands-on approach when it comes to drafting, definitely when it comes to contracts and re-signing players. And moving forward, I think that a lot of what we'll see, what Kyle will do, and what the organization, the direction that they're going to move, is really based on these last 5 games. It's going to be huge, in my opinion. That's why I wanted to just go into our next topic, which is 49ers.
These are your super chats, by the way. I just want you to know that these are for sure your super chats. You must have scheduled this for 9 o'clock originally, and then you got hella people here giving you money. I'm just trying to tell you.
Dude, I am in the comments.
I promise
the stars, and there are
because the ones for me have the little link thing on them. The ones that don't have that are for you.
Well, the ones that you have, then all right, that's ass backwards because you're the one with 100,000 freaking subs. So
no, but you initiated the stream, and so I was the one that. So I'm just telling you, the ones that are for me have the link thing on them, and the ones that don't are for you.
Right, and for me, I only see 3 super chats for you. That's nuts.
Wild. 928 Dennis McCrae. You don't see his super chat for you?
No, I see Nafka, Juan Carlos Montana, and Shreddy Murphy.
That is so weird. Okay, let me read them for you because these are for you.
Read them. Yeah, I do not want super chats to go unread. Yeah.
No, they have to be read. Dennis McCrae says, we all saw Dobbs outperform Allen in the preseason. The fact that Kyle is playing Allen over Dobbs should tell you all we need to know about Kyle. Geronimo is a new member. Fonzie Gonzalez says, when Kyle Shanahan simplifies his offense to capable quarterbacks, Jimmy G, Mullins, Purdy, first starts, they tend to be successful. Does Kyle Shanahan do too much overthink?
Grant, these are for sure your super chats. I don't even have memberships.
Well, that's fair. Master Anycraft says, I don't think the issue is Purdy, it's Kyle. Geronimo says, Niners need to put 2 running backs in the back. Always. Belichick says, hi, y'all. Using your platform to try to make friends. If you're okay with that, LOL, just moved to Phoenix for work. If there are any Niners Giants fans that want to link up, hit me up on X. Sal's 49er. SALS 49er. That's Belichick 2024, trying to make friends. Helperman 123 says, just remember, Kyle's got 4 quarterbacks hurt in 2021. That was 2022. Kyle is the vein of quarterbacks. He would find a way to ruin Mahomes and discard him like he did with Trey. Ivan Tina says, what round would you draft a quarterback in upcoming draft? First, second?
Yeah,
third?
first or second.
I mean, depending. I wouldn't. It's important. Dale says, Jimmy, your plays freaking suck. True 2024. Shady Luke says, this that play action game from Shanny when he uses, it's so predictable it kills me.
Great. So, honestly, dude, I really, come on, man. That's the name of the game. I would not ignore super chats, but they're not coming up.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to get through them. Juan Mendes says, you should hook up Kyle with some gummies. He needs them. Official BNA Music 88 says, play the astronaut. Javier Sierra says, Grant, you don't even eat those gummies. So can we win this game's running the ball the whole time with our 3-headed monster? 3-headed monster. Who's in that? Who are that? Who are we talking about?
Okay, and I just got something from you. That's Yaz Williams says, what's up, what's up, fellas? Fire Kyle. This is the first one that I've gotten. Terradome is now on them. See, it's weird because now mine are coming, and then Terradome just came up at Terradome $5 for coach. Not drafting quality offensive linemen in the first and second rounds the last 2 years is telling on us like a snitch in the first 48. That's very true. They're not really valuing the offensive line position. All right, so look, 49ers versus Bears is not a gimme game. The 49ers face the 4-8 Bears this Sunday. Why is this game not a foregone conclusion that the 49ers will win, especially with their recent injuries? Right now that I can tell you is that Caleb Williams is actually turning on. But earlier in the season, he seemed to be struggling, didn't really have his legs up under him. But if you've gone through the Bears, they've played some of the toughest games they played some of the best teams some of the best teams in the league, and they've come up against some really short last-second losses. They lost 21. They beat the Texans 21-17 to the Chiefs with the Titans. They lost to the Texans. And right now, coming up with the Commanders, they lost in a Hail Mary to the Washington Commanders. And they're coming in with the number 8th rated overall defense. They have a really good secondary. That's something that I could tell you that they do very well. Why is this not a shoo-in coming in? Should we be worried? Should we be worried that the Bears could come in here and ruin our day. Sorry.
Yeah. I don't understand why anyone would expect the Niners to win this game. I mean, I don't even know that they expect to win anymore. That's the problem with this team. Like, McCaffrey's out, Trent's out, Bosa's probably out. They've given themselves every excuse. Everyone in the Bay Area is talking about, like, why you got to go easy on them and why you got to give them grace. And it's been a season, it's been so much out of their control. Like, there's no urgency for them to win anymore. I mean, Brock wants to win. He has stuff to prove. I just feel like this team is done. They don't have Jordan Mason. They're not. I mean, Isaac Arendo is going to start his first game at running back ever in his life. He didn't even start in college. It's like, how long is this going to work? I just don't see it. I mean, their defense has been absolutely awful without Nick Bosa. Just horrendous. It's been horrendous without Nick Bosa. And now they have a quarterback who gets out of the pocket with ease. Like, they can't keep Geno Smith in the pocket, and they're going to keep Caleb Williams in the pocket. This seems like an obvious game the Niners are going to lose. I don't know. Maybe I'm.
Yeah,
I mean, for
me, I don't see it because of the defense. Right now, it's the 8th ranked overall defense right now. Their special teams isn't that bad either. Caleb Williams is athletic, man. And one thing about him is that he's got a very unorthodox game. So he's going to get out of the pocket. He's going to prolong plays. He's going to get things going with his legs. And he likes to let the ball go down the field. And one thing about them is that they specialize in scramble drill, man. It's kind of like they have a good process of what they do offensively, but backyard football is kind of what they do. And things can get away from you, especially when you're not necessarily playing connected on the back end. I just want to see what we can do with the pass rush and being able to get him on the ground. If you look at their points per game, they're averaging just a little lower than us at 20 points per game with our 22.5. But if you also look at just the efficiency of their average time of possession, they're about even with us. They average more plays a game they average more plays per game than us at 64 over our 59. Their rushing yards per play is more than us at 6.2. I mean, this is a team that they play teams to the bitter end. And one thing I will say, they're a very young team. They're much younger than us. So this is a team that took Detroit 23 to 20. I don't think that we can hold Detroit to 23 points, honestly. This is also a team that the Packers that we just saw play, they took the Packers, they lost to the Packers by 1 point, 20 to 19. This is a team that they're going to play hard to the bitter end. And I'll tell you this right now, I haven't seen one Chicago Bears game that's been played this year where they lacked effort. They're going to play hard. I'm going to just take cats out the bag. I think we're going to lose this one, honestly. I think the Bears are coming with a lot of energy. They understand that we're kind of a wounded team, and it's what the teams do in the league, man. It's like once they realize that there's blood in the water, they're going to attack. It's just the way of the league.
Here's what's definitely going to happen. The Niners D-line is going to get pushed around. No Givens, no Hargrave. I mean, Leonard Floyd starts on a 4-3 defense. I love how the Niners thought that was going to work. He's a 3-4 outside linebacker, and they're like, no. We're going to put him in this wide 9, and we're going to be able to stop the run. No, you won't. Can we talk a little bit about the wide 9 and the most overrated coach on the team? I mean,
you want to go?
I want to go into it. Like
all right,
the Niners. Like the Niners, a big reason the Niners don't have Vic Fangio and that the Eagles do is because Kyle Shanahan is convinced that Chris Kasarik is the best defensive line coach in football. And I don't see why. Maybe a few years ago he was Arden Key, that was nice what he did with Arden Key, and Charles Omenihu, that was good too. It seems like he's been able to take failed edge rushers and move them inside. He's doing it this year with Sam Okwanu, who's, had some moments. But essentially, they drafted Javon Kinlaw, who had no technique and terrible pad level because they thought Chris Kasarik could coach him up. They drafted Robert Beal Jr., Drake Jackson, because they thought Chris Kasarik could coach him up. These guys didn't have any production in college. And they give this guy high draft picks, expensive free agents, and the D-line's terrible. No one gets more resources than this guy, and he runs a gimmick defensive front that most coaches don't want to use. So when the Niners are looking for a defensive coordinator, it's someone like Steve Wilkes who will begrudgingly agree to try to work with it, or Nick Sorensen, who's promoted from within, you can't get Vic Fangio. So I feel like it would be nice for the Niners to like maybe move on from Kasarik and the wide nine and go get the best D coordinator for the job. But they won't. They'll keep him and they'll go get Jeff Ulbrich.
Yeah. I'll tell you as far as now, my most overrated coach on the coaching staff, and I understand exactly where you're coming from with Coach Kasarik, because I don't want to move on from that point. You made great points. It's something that to be honest with you, not only is it something that's important, but it's how we lead our team. Kyle and John have said numerous times that the way that they build this team is from the inside out, and they start with the defensive line. He gets the most money. He gets the best players. He gets given the most swings at bat, the most opportunities to be able to turn this out. And the fact that this defensive line continuously has not been able to generate a pass rush, stop the run, be able to do anything with the requisite players that we've brought in, it's all on Coach Kasarik. And right now, you're right. It's for you to be as good as you are and to be only part of like a niche element of the defensive line, what defensive line can bring, you got to be able to be multifaceted. That's part of, I mean, to be honest with you, they ask more of the players.
Like, all I'm saying is like they need to revamp this defensive line. It's awful. It's supposed to be the strength of the team. They pour resources into it. It's terrible. They have to revamp it and forget doing it in like the image of the wide nine. Like, that's over with. Done. Go get Jim Tomsula. Bring him back. He wouldn't want to come back. He's having a great time winning championships in Germany.
He's good to go.
He's good to go.
My guy for the biggest overrated coach on this staff is Leonard Hankerson. I don't know what Leonard Hankerson has done to elevate the passing core of this offense. We're a running team. The least of what we do offensively is pass the ball. We've always clipped at the lowest efficiency rate and the lowest frequency of passing the ball in the league. And it's the smallest footprint of productivity that we have on this team. And yet, this is how we get exposed. One thing that happens right now is that we just don't see the development of some of our best players. I mean, sure, Brandon Ayuk had a year, and I hate to put it that way, but he had a year where he showed exactly what he could do from a receiving standpoint.
But it's like in that year also, he wasn't the go-to guy.
He wasn't the go-to guy. Yeah, it was Christian. Exactly. So he was a
great secondary option.
He was a benefactor of Christian
McCaffrey's
productivity.
Mm-hmm.
And Deebo Samuel has just regressed. He hasn't gotten better. He's gotten worse year after year. Not for nothing, I will say that when Wes Welker had Deebo, at least Deebo was an effort guy. He was going to play to the echo of the whistle. Right now, I just see Deebo just walks around the team unchecked. He's not really scared of Leonard Hankerson. I've never even seen Leonard Hankerson even really coach Deebo up
I think you're right.
Really dig into him as far as making him accountable. He's kind of moves. Deebo probably pretty much has one coach on this team, and it's Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah.
And you can see he goes pretty much unchecked. If the ball's not coming to him or he's not doing anything, you could tell that Deebo pretty much moves to the beat of his own drum. And that's on Leonard Hankerson. You look at the development of guys like Jacob Cowing or
Ricky Pearsall,
or guys like Ricky Pearsall, and you ask yourself, like, what type of coaching are these guys getting? How are they being elevated, right? And then even on a running team, you almost look at Leonard Hankerson as almost kind of less important than a tight ends coach, which I think is kind of another guy that's overrated on this coaching staff, because what has he done? Our tight ends coach. I mean, right now you have George Kittle, but who has developed? That's a young guy that's been a tight end on this team that we drafted or got from another team. Name one tight end.
Ross Dwelly, baby. But since him, no one.
Yeah. Outside of Ross Dwelly.
Yeah.
Right? Your guy. But really.
And that was the old tight end coach who they bounced. I forget his name. Why do I forget his name?
Hightower? No, that was
No. He came from Colorado. He was the head coach there. He was assistant head coach here. What was his name? Oh, I forget. But he's a good coach. And they got rid of him to make Anthony Lynn the assistant head coach. What was his name? But yeah, the new tight end coach is just Fleury. Just seems like someone who
Brian Fleury
is like being groomed to be a coordinator, a play caller, not necessarily like a guy who can develop tight ends. He had I think he'd never coached tight ends before he became the tight ends coach here.
Yeah, it's definitely a guy where he's kind of like just sitting back doing what he wants. Is it Bakzaga?
No. 2019 49ers coaching staff. What's his name? Assistant head coach.
Embry.
There it is. Embry. Yep.
Embry.
And his son is, I think, with the organization or was.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, those are my guys. The tight ends coach and the receivers coach of the
Embry developed Kittle.
Yeah. Embry got
5th
Kittle
round
right.
pick. Embry was legit. They should bring him back. He might be with Miami now. I forget.
Figure out.
I'm gonna run through some super chats real quick while you let me, and then we'll get to the next one.
Let's go.
Brother Bob says, Coach, let's debate Coco versus Shea. And he says that and GC is better than Kyle Levy. He's Cocoa Butter versus Shea Butter. Dale says Kyle is not a leader of men, maybe an organizer. JC says Kyle Shanahan is running out of people to credit for their work. Who wants all the blame and no credit? That's a good point. Dale says, what's our percentage of empty this year? That's a good question. I think you can find that out online. Personnel groups.
That's a really good question.
Dale says, okay, so so y'all saying what I am saying, that it's weird play calling, so we should write off Brock and not pay him, like forced to play with the slowest O. Again, I don't think that Kyle Shanahan's purposely being worse than he could be. I think he's just not being good, but maybe I'm wrong. Steven Draper says, blame Debo. It's the route concept. Shake my head. JC says, correction, take credit for. Shreddy Murphy says, at coach, is Kyle roster mismanagement due to incompetence or favoritism?
Favoritism.
Official BNA Music 88 says, if BA wins, Kyle Shanahan will be praised, but if not, he'll play JD sabotage him to save his own skin. He will always protect himself first. If BA wins, Kyle will be praised. But if not, he'll play JD sabotage him to save his own skin. Confused. Juan Jimenez says, I don't know. Debo turned into Tang, getting paid to go in motion. True. Jason Lutt says this team was done in April, spending high draft capital on wide receiver 4-5 and HB4 instead of filling holes and depths we need this year was a very arrogant move. It was. Drafting Pearsall when you needed a linebacker?
100%. I'm getting some super chats that just flew
in
here now. Gammon Brown, $2. Should our O and D line coaches be on the hot seat? Not Coach Forrester. Coach Forrester, in my opinion, does the most with the least. On this team.
But Kasarik,
yeah. Coach Kasarik, put it like this. If Coach Forrester got the equivalent of what Coach Kasarik gets on the offensive line, dude, we would have the best offensive line hands down, year in, year out, and it wouldn't even be close. Like,
look what he's done with Jalen Moore and Ben Barch.
Come on, Colton McKivitz.
Where's the Jalen Moore on the Niners D line? Where's the Ben Barch on the Niners D line?
Who's the Colton McKivitz on the D line?
I want to know.
Come on, man. Like, it's the truth. NAFCA, $2. Ricky wore the wrong outfit, but everyone hated BA.
Okay.
I don't know.
What outfit?
17-14 Bears, Yaz Williams.
Yes.
NAFCA, offensive line and corners this offseason only.
How about quarterback?
Yeah. Go ahead.
You go.
Adam, let's face reality. The season is over. We're not winning. Let's rip the bandage off. Let the backups and rookies play and start the rebuild now. Juan Carlos Montano, best duo, Grantavius and Coach. My guy, and Sean, thanks. Sean rhymes with with John, Coach. Sean rhymes with John, Coach. Just saw Lynch say the fire Carl talk is laughable. We are stuck with this clown. We do need to consider how emotionally and physically tired this team is after 5 years of January football. Yeah, I mean, we understand. And I understand. Right now, everybody's defended. Like, when they're losing at this clip, everybody's defending everyone. They're all on that same sinking ship right now. All of them. They've got a hand in all of it. They all got to own it, from the contract to the offseason to the bad plays to nobody can disassociate themselves from this. So right now, John's got Kyle's back and Kyle's got John's back because they all look bad, in my opinion.
Yeah, except for when John said the team seemed to lack discipline. Hold on, let me get through a couple more super chats and we'll get out of it. Kilo T Dub says Purdy will definitely be getting his contract after this 2-game stretch without him. The tank just may be in full effect. He's playing. Shizapi says, I'm starting to believe Kyle Shanahan is a good OC, but not a head coach. Team needs a lively coach who will hype these guys up. It is interesting watching Dan Campbell have this season. And everyone's,
My God.
And it's like, yeah, that's what the Niners don't have. Like the way he talks to the team afterward, that's a football coach.
Yeah.
That's a football coach.
And it's, you know what I love? It's very top down. You know what I mean? He's not like thanking them for letting them off the hook. Like, I feel like when we win, Kyle's like, thank you guys. Like, you guys, you fucking did it. Like, woo, I love all of you. Yeah. Thank you so much. Like, Dan, it's more of a, you can tell they're on a mission.
Yeah.
They're on a
I
mission.
love that. Zach Garza says, oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. NAFCA, we can work with Broccoli and underpay him.
Brock.
Yeah.
Broccoli.
I don't know.
That's pretty funny.
I like that.
Zach Garza says that sound was Metal Gear Solid. That's true. Legend of Zelda Ocarina was this from like a different time?
You're reading
what am I reading?
Old super chats, bro. I don't know what you're reading.
I'm so sorry, dude. I'm so confused. What's going on here? Why are there all these super chats in here? I don't get it.
I don't know.
I'm so sorry. I ruined the show. I ruined it. I'm
no,
really
you're
sorry.
good because I think you were. I was like,
I'm just trying to be a good steward of the people. I'm like, what is this?
I don't know.
It's just a StreamYard glitch. It's just like old super chats.
Yeah, because I'm like, I don't see what he's seeing right now.
It's like, oh, the Metal Gear Solid thing was from days ago.
Yeah, because I was like, that's the last show. What are you talking about?
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, everyone, for wasting your time. That was a solid 15 minutes. We'll never get back.
Yeah, oh my
I'm
God.
so sorry.
Right. No, at least I know I'm not crazy because after the show, I was going to be like, bro, screenshot your damn screen, bro.
Yeah, no, it says 52 over here. 52 start. I'm like, from 9:15? We weren't even. Anyway, let's try to talk football before I have to go.
No. Let's go. All right, so, that's not. StreamYard's tripping today, man.
Thank you, StreamYard.
All right, so
that was really dumb.
Let's go. Balancing grace and criticism. This would be much better off of us fucking up half of the show. Balancing grace and criticism. How do you assess the players amid injuries, distractions, and outside noise? All of those, some of them are self-imposed. What's the balance between giving grace or criticizing the coaching staff, front office, and players? So right now, it's very easy for blame to go around. And I thought about this because a lot of my commentary is criticizing what I see to be failures on the team, coaching staff, and the organization. However, context matters, and you can't just blindly pray and spray. Sometimes it can get a bit vitriolic, and you do have to be balanced. And I guess the real question is for myself, for you, Grant, in your profession, and for fans, what is the balance? Being as though that, how do you criticize a team that's had situations like a Ricky Pearsall or a Trent Williams' situation right now, or a Travarius Ward situation, or, we do have BA after all that he did throughout the offseason to lose his entire season right now, and we don't even know what his career is going to be like. A Christian McCaffrey that basically fights the entire season to get back, and now he's on IR. And the list goes on and on. Basically, who should be squarely in the crosshairs of criticism, and how do you balance that based off of all of the events that have entailed the season?
I mean, I think it's real easy and correct to give grace to the players who've been directly impacted by things outside of their control. Travarius Ward, Trent Williams, Ricky Pearsall, and obviously Ayuk and Christian McCaffrey, like they're injured. Bosa, like that makes total sense to give them grace. I think individually you have to do that, but I think at the same time you have to be careful. The balance here is like, you don't just write off the whole season and use it as an excuse, because what this team has to do in spite of their bad luck is actually honestly reflect on what went wrong. And it can't just be everything was out of our control, we did everything right. Like, you didn't do everything right this year. And early in the season when Ayuk was there and there weren't a ton of injuries, like, you were bad. You went in and you lost to freaking Minnesota, and then you lost to the Rams. Like, right there, boom, boom. So I feel like the Niners have to be honest with themselves, and like, this is part of it. Like, yeah, a lot of stuff was out of our control this year, but a lot of stuff wasn't. We created a lot of distractions. Like, we when we come back next year, it's going to be different because we're going to do these things differently. Not we'll have better luck. Right?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing right now is them understanding the difference between self-imposed things that they can change that are in their control, and knowing how to circle the wagons and support each other on things that they can't. As far as injuries are concerned, injuries are just what they are. You can't get ready for them. You can't supplant them. It just, it's a part of the game. But one thing moving forward is I do believe that they're not going to take the offseason for granted. I do believe that there's an element of this team that's been a little bit shattered as far as like this ego of understanding that things are just going to automatically work. They can just show up and be the Niners. I think that veil has kind of been pulled off of them, and for good reason. And I think it's going to help them. My biggest issue with all of this is that every team goes through failures. We're always going to have teams or seasons where we have these types of results. But
one thing though, they should have a very long off season you kind of use that as an excuse too. It's been a short off season. We were played into February. Mm-hmm. You're gonna have a real long off season this time. So to your point, take it seriously. Everyone needs to be there in training camp. And that's why I'm kind of concerned about these last 5 games. Brock, Bosa, anyone who's like gonna potentially play through an injury could make it worse to the point where they might need surgery and miss time next year. You don't want that. You don't want that. Mm-hmm. Like yeah. Ayuk's not going to be there in training camp.
No, he's not going to be back. I mean, Ayuk's probably much going to be on like he's going to be on like CMC type timeline next year. Like he'd be lucky to come back mid-season at best.
Yeah.
So I mean, the way I see it, man, is that they need closure. They got to own this. There's a way that they can move forward. There's going to be hard decisions that are made with every team every year. We're not special. But I do believe that this season, the results of how they pull out the rest of these 5 games is going to point to whether they should be able to keep it together or blow it all up.
If they beat the Bears this weekend, that goes a long way to giving them grace.
It does.
Even at 5-7, with all these guys out, they found a way to play their best football of the year, their most focused, urgent, all that kind of stuff. Like those are things that are within their control, and if they could dig deep and find that finally now, it would show that Kyle hasn't lost the team. Yeah. I mean, really, I think we're all kind of looking like, okay, you're probably not going to get fired, but like
the Bills happen, the Packers happen. We're over it. What are you going to do though?
Yeah. Like if you lose your next 5 games and there's like embarrassing blowouts to the Bears and the Rams, and it's like, no, it doesn't matter what you did in the past. You lost this team. But if they can rally, maybe win this game or 2 or 3 of these games, you think, all right, okay, you know what? Let's give them grace. They had a lot of bad luck. They found a way to rally at the end. Okay, I want to see one more year.
I think that the fan base is begging to give this excuse to the team right now.
Yeah.
Where we really want them to show up, pull out a win, right? Yeah. Lose, possibly beat the Rams. Lose gracefully to the Lions, right? Yeah. But our biggest thing is like, don't become a shit show. Don't become a shell of yourselves. Like, don't turn on each other. Don't not be prepared or not tackle or give up at the end of games or have backup units come in the games or have penalties on drives. Like, the thing about it is that we got to look like ourselves going down. We got to go out on our shield, so to speak.
I agree. That's what we're watching for down the stretch. Can you do that?
Yeah.
And if not, I wonder if the Yorks are watching for that too. They haven't really said anything. Everyone's assuming that they won't do anything. But if it's just an unmitigated disaster that's not getting any better, they may not have a choice. So give them a reason to keep you around, Kyle. Or everyone on the team. Like George has given the Niners a reason to keep him around. George Kittle. He would have been easy to cut. No guaranteed money coming up, 31, 32, tight end. Easy to get rid of George Kittle, but no, absolutely not. He's bedrock cornerstone of the team. So that's what this next 5 games are. Brock, you want to be the franchise quarterback? You got 5 games to prove it, man.
Yeah. You got to do it. Look, got some more super chats to get out of the way on my side.
Yeah.
Let me just get you out the way. Rachel, Grant, is that a Ricky Pearsall jersey behind you?
It is. I'm actually, I've already, I have to let the person know who won. I already know who won. I haven't told him yet, but that someone won. Sorry, I got to tell him.
Nafka, Grant took too many gummies.
I wish I had that excuse.
Alex Diaz, Grant, are you going to Miami? If you are, here's a coffee on me. Coach, your live stream during games are the best. Thank you, man. I try. Juan Jimenez, who would you have a show with, Lombardi or Tang?
Oh, Lombardi, dude. No one wants to hear
sure.
Tang talk anymore. Are you kidding?
Nobody wants to hear Tang. That's just whatever. That's a blip in time.
The debate with Lombardi would be fun.
Oh, if he would do it,
it'd be so fun. Yeah, I'd love to. No, he would never do it. Of course not.
He would never do it.
He would get smoked.
Yeah. That's because you know he would get smoked.
Juan
Carlos Montano, come on, Grantavius. Love y'all for real. Always running to Grant's grades after watching Coach rage during the watch parties. The heroes we needed. That's the algorithm. That's what we want. Watch me set him up, and then Grant knocks him down.
That's right. I love that.
Tino, how good or bad is Tariq Owens?
I don't know, man.
He
went to my high school. You won't hear me say anything bad about him. He went to Bishop O'Dowd. Let's go. He's the best.
Grant got to walk around his town. Grant got to walk around his town without getting harassed. Heard what you said about Tariq? Oh, Sean, if this team had a real leader in that locker room or sideline, they would have rallied the team against all the adversity and made this season legendary. That's true. One thing you will say is that when things were going great, one of the characteristics of this team that made you feel good is that you thought we had a lot of leaders. We had tons of leaders. There was no way that the bottom could fall out with Nick Bosa, with Jimmy Ward, with Eric Armstead, with Fred Warner, Trent Williams. There's so many leaders. Deebo Samuels, George Kittle.
Yeah, the only guy on the team that'll get in someone's face is Deebo. And it's the long snapper. That's what I'm saying. Deebo tried, son. What do you want?
Oh, and Trent in a loss. If we losing, Trent's fighting.
He's gonna punch someone in the face.
Trent's getting ejected. It's not happening.
That's true. Yeah.
He's gone. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, I'm taking something with me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm leaving here with something.
I'm leaving here with something.
I'm leaving here with something. Hey,
I'm from around the way.
Yeah. Hey, look, man. I'm gonna tell you right now. The next 5 weeks are gonna be really what's gonna make or break the season. We're gonna really understand what this team is made of.
Could make or break the regime.
Definitely. They could finish these 5 games out. I don't even care about win-loss right now. It's all about style points, in my opinion. Winning or losing is pretty much a crapshoot. My thing is how they lose, how they win, how they prepare. Because if they completely just let it all go to the win and blow it all out at the end of the season, I think anything's on the table. I think everything's on the table. But they could come out here and really hold court and maybe win 2 out of the 5, 3 out of the 5, have some close losses. And I believe
they got to show they're still viable as a core. They got to show they're still viable as a core, because if they can't win any more games, then you got to blow it up, and then you got to wonder if Kyle wants to be here for that. And it's like,
oh well, I'm gonna tell you this right now. The number one thing that needs to happen is that their core is too big.
Yeah,
it can't be 8 guys anymore.
It's got to be 4.
It's got to be like 4 guys. It's got to be the quarterback, a pass rusher, a left tackle, and 1 offensive guy that you pick. That is something. You know what I mean? But the core of overspending for a fullback, that can't exist anymore. Like overspending for a running back, this is what you do. Finding running backs was supposed to be the hallmark of this offense. Now we got the highest paid one in the league and then doubled down for effect. So,
and you do have good running backs behind him that you don't use. So, I got to get down to Santa Clara and see if Nick Bosa is practicing today. You think he's going to practice today?
No,
I don't think so either.
Hey, man, it was a good one.
Go win a game without Nick Bosa, Kyle. That's something he hasn't done very much of.
Do you think he can win a game without?
Find a way to win a game without Nick Bosa. I think he's 15 and 30 something without him. I don't know. That might be wrong.
Grant, at the end of the day, we're still friends, and that's all that matters. Hey, dog, great show. What do you got cooking for the rest of the week?
I mean, it wasn't a great show. I ruined it, but I think we rallied at the end.
We rallied.
Yeah. I want to apologize, everyone, for reading Super Chats from 2 days ago. That was...
that is such a fucking rookie move. It was
not my best moment. You were like, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, I got to do this.
Yeah, you're like, hey, you want to read these Super Chats? And I was like, this motherfucker's really cutting me off to read these Super Chats. These shits. I'm like, I do not see these shits. What is he talking about?
Sorry. Hey, it's going to be that kind of day. I can already tell.
Hey, man, let's have a good one, man. I'll talk to you.
Let's have a good one. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Thanks for watching, guys.